The requests keep rolling in for us to compare the Clara line up against other things, but we have to start with comparing them to each other. They are exactly the same build in every way, shape, or form. You will notice that this one is brighter. This is the Clara BW. This one is darker. This is the Clara Color. The Clara Color is always going to be darker because it is running Kaleido. All Kaleido devices do that. Actually, if we bring something in from 14 years ago, you will see it is just as bright. But we bring something in from 14 seconds ago, the Libra, it's going to be dark. These are always going to be darker because Kaleido is darker. They have a color array filter on top of them, which naturally makes them harder to see. There's a couple things you can do to mitigate that, and we'll show you in this video. The builds, as we said, are exactly the same in every single way, except for the fact that it says color and the model number is different, but they are both made in China. They both have the same repairing capabilities. There are no differences to the exteriors of the unit. In terms of differences on the operating system or UI, there are literally only two differences, and they're minor. If you go to settings, this will say about Kobo Clara Color, and this one will say BW. The second thing is reading settings. This will say reduce rainbow effect. Sometimes on color devices, you get a little bit of that rainbow effect when you go to color content, magazines, PDFs, etc. This is just a toggle so you can actually turn it on or off and the UI adjusts itself accordingly. That's it. Now we are going to get into books, manga, and black and white differences of the actual backdrop, and we're going to start that off by going to beta features, which I will lead in by saying they have a massive miss here, because this is black and white on the BW and this is the Kobo Clara Color, but guess what, they didn't add colors to this. Now there could be an update that could change that, but huge miss for not putting colors on here. Now what we're going to do is draw a little bit of black over here, and we're going to draw a little bit of black over here. And why this is because we're going to compare the backdrops to each other. Both glow lights are off, but you can see a huge problem with these two units. Look at this color. This is not white. Look at this color. This is not white either, but holy moly, is that worlds better than that. And as we said at the top of the hour, this is always going to be darker. So you'll have to do some things to fix that, but you can just tell that this is the absolute glaring issue with color e-paper, and has been since 2019 with the iReader C6, which is the second wave of color, which is Kaleido. You're going to have to fix this somehow, and by doing glow light anywhere from 10 to 30%, you end up fixing it a little bit, but you still get these lines in the background that you don't get here, and this is the color array filter side effect that you just don't see on these type of units. This is the same shot. We can adjust them like this and it'll be the same thing. But this is going to be a concern for many people that buy into these units that say, you know what, I want a color device, what are the trade-offs? This is the biggest trade-off we can think of right now. In terms of dark mode, they're pretty much identical. Once you limit the ability for the device to reflect light, because white and lighter colors reflect light and black absorbs light, they're pretty much the same. This is the BW still on the left, and the color on the right. There's no major differences between the two, and it's really insignificant as to which one is better, because once you take away that white and you put all those black particles to the surface, there's almost zero differences. Things change a little bit when you turn the glow light on full. This is the color with the glow light on full blue version, no warm light, and you get this kind of purpley hue to it. And this again still has more grays and greens in it. So if that is a concern of yours, this is an unbridled look at the side effect of lights at full blast. Finally, warm lighting will be more reddish on this side, and again more subdued on this side. It seems that the intensities of the glow light layer shining through all the other layers in the stack of screens is more pronounced on the color unit. Once again, for the sake of consistency, glow lights off for this portion. This is the color version that is just a lot darker, it's a lot grayer, and even though it is still 300 ppi in black and white, this gray sheen over top is unavoidable. There doesn't seem to be any way to turn that off because you can't turn off the color array filter. It's a physical piece of thing that lays over. It's almost like that in a less pronounced fashion, but that's the concept, is that that's really what you're dealing with when it comes to color devices, and you just don't get that on black and white. But in terms of speed, they're identical. They're the exact same thing. They're very fast. They offer that instant refresh when you change state. They're both very good for reading. It's not going to be a night and day difference, but if you can get over the fact that this is darker, or the fact that you need to utilize a little bit more battery to make it look like the one on the left, like doing something like that, this is going to be using more glow light. This isn't. That needs to be of note. When it comes to manga is traditionally, at least in Japan, non-color. It is black and white. So in this regard, they're pretty much the exact same thing. But you will see that because there is no color, the title gets lost. You can't really read it. I can a little bit, but that's easier to see, because how can you possibly create light pink with black and white? The only way to do it is to do light gray, and it gets lost because of all the gradients and shading, and you just can't see it all. When you get color, you get that level of depth that you can't reach on black and white. But then when you get into the actual content, you don't really need color anymore, because manga is pretty much never in color. So once you get into the actual print drawn parts of it, it becomes a moot point. But either way, outside of that, if you're in graphic novels or children's books as well, which a lot of parents buy e-readers for, because e-readers are a little bit more robust than a LCD tablet, things start to change a little bit. So if we open up this book on both of them, we'll start to see some differences. And the biggest difference, of course, is the fact that this is going to give you full vivid color. You might laugh at the fact that we say vivid, but for ebook readers, it doesn't get any better than this, except gallery, which doesn't exist anymore. But you'll see this is as clear cut of a difference as you can get. You won't know what color the characters are, or the wall, or the drapes, or the weather outside even, without some sort of identifiers. In this case, it is the colors on the screen. It is still nice looking, but it's like going from a Game Boy to Game Boy Color. I mean, it just opens up the entire world for the reader, especially when it comes to color content like children's books and graphic novels. Outside of that, guys, they're identical in almost every single way. We really wish they didn't miss the mark when it came to the sketchpad. I would have liked to see them add some sort of color, just a quick palette to the sketchpad. But the reality is, when it all comes down to it, this is going to be a darker experience if you don't have that glow light on. It's always gonna look like that. Whereas the BW and basically any other ebook reader that is black and white only will look much better, but you lose the ability to see things in color. So that's the trade-off. There is no true all-in-one solution just yet. It comes with the inherent nature of the technology itself. This has been a showcase of the BW versus the color, both of these Kobo, both of these Rakuten, both of these Claras. Thanks for watching.